Picture yourself walking through the streets of 15th century Florence. The air buzzes with a sense of possibility and change. Artists and architects are no longer content with rigid medieval traditions. They're reaching back to the ideals of ancient Greece and Rome, mixing them with contemporary themes. This period, the early Renaissance, is about to revolutionize art and architecture forever. But how did we get here, and why does it matter? Let's explore the masters who reshaped sculpture and architecture, breathing life, emotion, and innovation into stone and mortar. In the world of sculpture, Donatello emerges as a transformative force. Born in Florence in 1386, Donatello was a visionary who brought realism and emotion back to the human form. One of his most celebrated works, the Bronze David, stands as a symbol of this rebirth. Unlike the stoic medieval sculptures of saints and kings, Donatello's David is youthful, almost fragile, yet confident. The sculpture's subtle details, the curve of the hips, the thoughtful gaze, are reminiscent of ancient Greek statuary. It was the first freestanding nude statue created since antiquity, boldly reintroducing the human body as a subject of beauty and power. Meanwhile, Lorenzo Ghiberti was pushing boundaries in relief sculpture. His masterpiece, The Gates of Paradise, adorns the baptistery of Florence. These gilded bronze doors are a marvel of storytelling and technical innovation. Ghiberti utilized linear perspective, a groundbreaking concept at the time, to create a sense of depth within his panels. Scenes like the story of Jacob and Esau show figures that seem to exist in a three-dimensional world, receding into the distance. This blend of classical techniques and contemporary storytelling set a new standard for narrative art. But what inspired these artists to break free from medieval constraints? The answer lies in a renewed fascination with humanism, a philosophy that placed humans and their experiences at the center of intellectual thought. The early Renaissance sculptors, inspired by this philosophy, sought to capture individuality and emotion. Gone were the stiff, expressionless figures of Gothic art. Instead, artists embraced naturalism, studying anatomy, movement, and expression to create works that felt alive. Sculpture wasn't the only medium experiencing a rebirth. Architecture, too, underwent a transformation led by another Florentine genius, Filippo Brunelleschi. If you've ever marveled at the Florence Cathedral's colossal dome, you've seen Brunelleschi's crowning achievement. In 1418, the city held a competition to design a dome for the cathedral, which had remained unfinished for decades. Many considered the challenge impossible. The span was too wide, the structure too daunting. But Brunelleschi, inspired by the engineering feats of ancient Rome, devised an ingenious solution. Rather than using traditional wooden supports, he designed an internal framework of ribs and herringbone brickwork to stabilize the dome. His innovative use of mathematics, perspective, and engineering allowed him to construct the largest masonry dome in the world, completed in 1436. The dome of Santa Maria del Fiore was more than an architectural feat. It was a symbol of human ingenuity and confidence. Brunelleschi didn't just stop with the dome. He pioneered the use of linear perspective in architectural design, a technique that allowed architects to create harmonious, proportionate spaces. His work on the Ospedale degli Innocenti, a hospital and orphanage in Florence, showcased clean lines, symmetrical arches, and classical columns, blending the ideals of antiquity with contemporary needs. This approach laid the groundwork for Renaissance architecture, influencing generations of architects to come. What makes these advances so remarkable is the way they merged classical ideals with the present. Artists and architects weren't simply copying the past, they were adapting ancient techniques to tell new stories, solve new problems, and express new ideas. Donatello's sculptures weren't mere imitations of Greek statues, they embodied a modern understanding of humanity. Ghiberti's panels didn't just depict biblical scenes, they invited viewers into a world of depth and perspective. Brunelleschi's dome wasn't a Roman relic, it was a beacon of progress, innovation, and civic pride. This period of experimentation and rediscovery sparked a broader cultural revolution. The early Renaissance laid the foundations for what we now consider the hallmarks of Western art and architecture: realism, perspective, proportion, and human emotion. These principles would inspire future masters like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael. The seeds planted by Donatello, Ghiberti, and Brunelleschi blossomed into a golden age of art. But let's not forget that these advances weren't confined to the elite world of scholars and patrons. The works of these artists were public, on cathedral doors, in city squares, and atop sacred buildings. They were meant to be seen, experienced, and admired by everyone, from merchants to pilgrims. In this way, the early Renaissance wasn't just an artistic revolution, it was a cultural awakening, inviting all of society to appreciate the beauty of human creativity. As we look back at the dawn of the early Renaissance, it's clear why this period still captivates us. It was a time when artists dared to merge the wisdom of the past with the possibilities of the present. Sculptors like Donatello and Ghiberti infused their works with life and depth, while architects like Brunelleschi defied gravity with brilliance and vision.